You ever have one of those nights, you have a great time with your friends, but you get home and you feel completely wiped out, like you've just run a marathon? Or maybe you've been in a conversation for just a few hours and suddenly you're just desperate for some peace and quiet. Well, guess what? You're not alone, not by a long shot, and there's a real reason for it. All right, let's dive into what that feeling is, and more importantly, how you can handle it. Just picture it for a second. You're at a party, right? The music's loud, people are talking everywhere, the whole scene. Now, for some people, this is like pure electricity. They're just soaking it all up, feeding off the energy. But for others, well, it's like a clock starts ticking. All that noise, the constant need to interact, it starts to feel less like fun and more like a weight. That sensation of your energy just completely vanishing into thin air. Yeah, that's a very, very real thing. Does any of that ring a bell? That feeling of your energy just seeping away when you're around people? It's something so many of us go through, but we almost never have a name for it. Well, guess what? It does have a name. We're talking about the social hangover. And no, it's not just something in your head. It is a completely real, totally valid experience, and we're going to break it all down. So, what are we actually talking about here? Well, social exhaustion is this really intense emotional and physical response to just too much stimulation. It seriously feels like hitting a wall. One minute you're fine, you're having a good time, and the next, bam, you are running on absolute empty. You might feel tired, stressed, maybe even a little angry or irritable. And here's the kicker. This can happen to anyone. This is not just an introvert thing. Probably the best way to think about this is the social battery metaphor. It's perfect. We've all got one, right? It's like our internal power pack for dealing with people. And just like your phone, when that battery hits zero, well, it's got to be recharged. No way around it. But here's the big question, right? Why can some people's batteries last all night long, while others are hitting that dreaded 10% warning after just an hour? The answer isn't just about personality. It's actually neuroscience. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what's really going on inside our brains. Okay, so here's the core difference. For introverts, recharging that battery means solitude, peace, and quiet. For them, big social events are a major energy drain. Extroverts, they're the complete opposite. They actually gain energy from being around people. For them, socializing is what plugs them in. Okay, so we get how they recharge differently, but why? What is actually happening on a chemical level in the brain that makes us so different? Well, it all comes down to one crucial little neurotransmitter, dopamine. Now, you've probably heard of it, right? The feel-good chemical? But it's so much more than that. Think of it as the brain's engine for reward and motivation. It's what pushes us to go after things that feel good. Now, here's the really important part. It's not that extroverts just have more dopamine. That's a common misconception. It's that their dopamine reward system is more, well, active. It's turned up higher. So for them, social rewards, like meeting someone new or being the center of attention, give them this huge buzz. It's like a shot of espresso. For introverts, that whole system is just less sensitive. They don't get that same big dopamine rush from those same activities. And that's why all that stimulation can feel totally overwhelming and exhausting instead of exciting. All right, so we've got the science down. That's the why. But let's get practical. How can you actually tell when your social battery is starting to get low before you hit that wall and completely crash? And get this, it turns out our social energy is definitely not infinite. Some fascinating research actually found a kind of tipping point. For a lot of us, once a social event hits the 3-hour mark, that's when serious fatigue really starts to set in. I want you to think of these as the little yellow warning lights on your car's dashboard. You're not broken down yet, but something's up. Maybe your energy just starts to dip, or you can't seem to focus on a conversation. Maybe you get that weird, wired but tired feeling, where you can't sleep even though you're exhausted. Or you find yourself getting snappy over tiny little things. These are the signals. Your body is telling you, hey, time to find a charging station. But what happens if you just ignore those little warning lights? Well, you're basically heading for a full system crash. This is burnout. We are talking about feeling totally hopeless and detached, actively avoiding people you normally like, and even getting physical symptoms like intense headaches. It can get so bad that you start to feel real, genuine anxiety just thinking about the next social event on your calendar. So, how do we stop ourselves from ever getting to that point? The key is to stop being reactive and start being proactive. It's all about having a game plan to protect your energy before it gets dangerously low. And here's a super simple 4-step strategy you can use. Step 1, know your triggers. Figure out exactly which situations and which people drain you the most. Step 2, set some healthy boundaries. It is absolutely okay to say no to something or to decide you're only staying for an hour. Step 3, literally schedule alone time. Put it in your calendar. Even just 10 to 30 minutes a day makes a world of difference. And finally, step 4, choose your battles. Be picky. Prioritize the social stuff that you know you're genuinely going to enjoy. Okay, but let's be real. Sometimes you miss the signs and it's just too late. What do you do when you are already feeling that social hangover? Let's talk about the best ways to plug back in and get that battery charging again. The most important thing here is finding what really, truly works for you. For some, it might be a total digital detox. And let me tell you, online socializing can drain your battery just as fast as in-person stuff. For others, maybe it's journaling, just getting all those feelings out on paper. Or maybe it's as simple as a quiet walk outside or doing some deep breathing. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here, which is kind of the beauty of it. When you boil it all down, it really just comes back to one thing: self-awareness. It's about learning to listen to what you need before your calendar is totally packed. It's about checking in with yourself before you push way past your limits. And if you take one thing away from this, please let it be this: needing alone time does not make you antisocial. Honoring your own limits isn't a weakness. It is an absolutely essential form of self-care. In fact, it's the very thing that lets you show up as your best, most engaged self when you do decide to be social. So let me just leave you with this final thought to chew on. We're so often taught to think of our social limits as some kind of weakness, right? Something we have to fix or push through. But what if we've been looking at this whole thing completely backwards? What if understanding and managing your social energy isn't a limitation at all, but your own personal superpower?